Hello, everyone. I'm Anas Al-Ubaidi, and in this video, in this session, uh, we will start chapter 10, the first session or first video in chapter 10, or the first topic in chapter 10 from the whole syllabus or curriculum of the Advanced Medical Science Liaison and Medical Monitor Certification course by CCRPS. And chapter 10 is about monitoring techniques and tools. And the session for this video or the topic is about developing monitoring plans and risk-based implementation. Introduction about the topic: effective and smart monitoring in clinical trials is the backbone of ensuring data integrity, patient safety, and adherence to regulatory standards. So, in order to ensure, in order to maintain, in order to improve and continuously improving data integrity for the clinical research and the patient safety through the clinical research and the regulatory adherence, the standards for the regulatory adherence, then effective and smart monitoring is the backbone, is vital, is necessary to ensure those three contents or aspects in the clinical trial. With the increasing complexity in trial designs, the complexity that is increasing in the trial designs, the importance of a well-constructed monitoring plan, and the adoption of risk-based monitoring, RBM, cannot be overstated. These approaches allow sponsors and monitors to optimize trial oversight, focusing resources on the most critical elements of the study to mitigate risks without compromising data quality or safety. So here's the point, here's the outcome, here's the goal that needs to be achieved: mitigation of the risks without compromising anything within data quality or the safety, the patient or participant safety. A monitoring plan acts as the detailed roadmap for trial oversight, encompassing all aspects of site visits, data verification, and issue escalation. It ensures that every activity, role, and decision-making trigger aligns with trial objectives. On the other hand, RBM, risk-based monitoring, represents a modern paradigm shift. Traditional monitoring relied heavily on exhaustive data review and site visits, often leading to inefficient resource use. So, RBM here, the risk-based monitoring, however, assesses and prioritizes risks, applying tailored strategies to address specific areas that matter most, such as safety endpoints or protocol compliance in high-risk populations. Now, the integration of technologies such as real-time data analytics and advanced statistical tools has further enhanced monitoring capabilities. Advanced physician medical monitors, who are the stewards of clinical trial success, must master these concepts to oversee trials efficiently, safeguard patient well-being, and deliver high-quality results. So here it comes. Advanced physician medical monitors, the medical monitors, who are the stewards of clinical trial success, must master the medical monitors. They must master these concepts to oversee trials efficiently, overseeing the trials efficiently, safeguard the patient well-being, the patient safety, and deliver high-quality results. Key points for the topic for this session. We'll start with developing comprehensive monitoring plans. So a monitoring plan is far more than a checklist. It's not just a checklist. It's far beyond more than that. It is a strategic document laying out how trials will be tracked, supervised, and managed. So it's not just a checklist, it's far more beyond that. Below are the critical elements you need to master when creating a monitoring a plan. So we'll start with purpose and objectives. So the monitoring plan must articulate why monitoring is necessary for the specific trial and what it aims to achieve. The purpose address the trial specific needs such as participant safety, the patient safety, protocol adherence, or regulatory compliance. Example, for a phase 3 trial with multiple endpoints in oncology, the plan may prioritize collection and verification of safety and efficacy data from geographically dispersed sites. This is an example, good example for the purpose. Key performance for the purpose and objectives or for the purpose. Key performance indicators, KPIs for short, measure trial progress, compliance, and data quality. These metrics should be clearly defined and aligned with the trial objectives. Example, use KPIs, which is the key performance indicators, key performance indicators, to track site enrollment rates, protocol deviations, and adherence to the visit schedule. This is a simple example about the application of KPIs, which is the key performance indicators, KPIs, or KPI, if only key performance indicator. But key performance indicators as a plural will be KPIs or KPIs. Identification of critical data and processes. Not every data point requires equal attention. The monitoring plan must specify which data is most critical to participants' safety, the patient safety, and the trial success, and the success of the trial. Example, for a cardiovascular drug trial, critical data may include serious adverse events, SIEs, electrocardiogram results, ECG results, EKG results, and blood pressure measurements. And so this maybe needs more as data-wise. The SAEs, serious adverse events, ECG, EKG results, and blood pressure measurements may be needed more and may be focused and prioritized as data-wise and considered critical data for a cardiovascular drug trial. Ensure this focus aligns with the trial's endpoints. Roles and responsibilities. Define who does what and establish accountability for each task. Sponsors, for instance, here overall trial oversight in ensuring compliance with regulatory requirements, while clinical research organizations, CROs, clinical research organizations, CROs, or some professionals may call the CROs as contract research organizations, both the same, often delegated responsibility for site monitoring. Investigators, the principal investigators, ensure the trial is conducted properly at local sites. Example, for a multinational study, international or global, high-scale kind of study, investigators, the principal investigators at each site may oversee informed consent, the process of the informed consent, meaning consent, the process of consenting the patients to become participants in the trial, while monitors focus on ensuring consistent compliance across regions. Monitoring methods. The plan should outline various methods to be deployed, providing flexibility depending on trial needs. Site visits, direct involvement, or to review source data and resolve questions. Uh, Remote monitoring, virtual oversight for data review or investigator communication. Centralized monitoring, advanced analytical tools to detect anomalies in aggregated data. Example, centralized dashboards can catch protocol deviations, such as missed laboratory tests in early stage cancer search. This is example for one of the examples of the methods of monitoring. Communication and escalation pathways. Findings must be communicated effectively with escalation procedures in place for significant risks or ongoing issues. Example, if a site fails to report serious adverse events, SAEs, on time, the plan should delegate authority to escalate this issue to senior site staff, trigger retraining, or even suspend recruitment. So, this is example. If a site fails to report serious adverse events, SAEs, on time, the plan should delegate authority to escalate this issue to senior site staff, trigger retraining, and/or even suspend recruitment. Frequency and timing of monitoring activities. Monitoring schedules must balance resources efficiency with trial needs, focusing on high priority aspects. For example, for a high risk site, monthly monitoring may be scheduled compared to quarterly check ins for compliant low risk sites. So, this is a comparison. If you have a high risk site and low risk site, the frequency and the timing and the method of monitoring in compare of both. Here is a summarized diagram of components of a monitoring plan. We have the critical data identification, focuses on essential data for trial success. We have the purpose and objectives, addresses trial specific needs like safety and compliance, and we have the key performance indicators, KPIs or KPI, key performance indicator or indicators, measures trial progress and data uh, quality. Then we have the principles of techniques of risk-based monitoring, RBM. RBM, risk-based monitoring, revolutionizes clinical trial oversight by focusing on the critical aspects and areas of greatest risk rather than the traditional 100% verification approach. So prioritize in the oversight processes or oversight procedure. Here's how it works. Step one, risk identification. So the first step is to identify where risks are most likely to occur and which data points or processes are most vulnerable. Example, trials with inexperienced sites are more vulnerable to data errors. Identifying these upfront allows monitors to allocate more resources to such sites. So here, example for risk identification is trials with inexperienced sites are more vulnerable to data errors, to bias. Therefore, identifying these upfront in advance allows monitors, whether medical monitors or any other monitor, to allocate more resources to such sites than experienced sites. Step two, risk assessment. Assessing the likelihood and impact of risks helps establish priorities. Tools like risk assessment categorization tools, RACT for short, or RACT, are frequently employed. Example, a traffic light system might categorize sites as low green, moderate low, or high risk red, allowing targeted effort. Step three, implementing risk controls. So mitigation strategies must then address the identified risks. These controls should prevent, detect, and correct any problems. Example, if a site shows poor protocol adherence, retraining staff or increasing frequency of monitoring visits may be necessary. In case, for instance, for example, site is showing poor protocol adherence, so retraining the staff for the site that shows poor protocol adherence, retraining this staff for that site, and/or increasing the frequency, the timings of monitoring visits may be necessary. Step four, targeted monitoring. So RBM, risk-based monitoring, customizes monitoring techniques based on the identified risks. Increased scrutiny for high-risk sites or data, reduced intervention for low-risk environments. So Example, if a low enrollment site submits consistent high quality data, if low enrollment site meaning site that is enrolling less patients, less participants, less subjects, submits consistent high quality data, traditional monitoring may be scaled back in favor of remote oversight. So, so this is an example of targeted monitoring. So a site that is conducting the visit is enrolling, recruiting patients less. They have low rate of recruiting participants or patients or subjects into the trial. So, and they are showing consistent high quality data. Therefore, traditional monitoring may be scaled back in favor of remote oversight, meaning monitoring that is not conducted on site. So, not on site physical monitoring, but remote virtual monitoring instead. So, here, according to the enrollment and showing high quality consistent data for that particular site, then the decision to choose this method of remote monitoring as a method of monitoring. Types of risk-based monitoring: RBM, centralized monitoring. In spite of the order, we have centralized monitoring, remote monitoring, and targeted or reduced monitoring. So centralized monitoring is data from all sites is analyzed remotely using advanced tools to identify patterns and deviations. Example, centralized systems can pinpoint outliers and vital sign trends, quickly preventing protocol-wide errors or bias. Remote monitoring allows virtual oversight and is especially useful in geographically challenging or high-risk situations. For example, investigators at a rural site may be trained through live teleconferencing instead of in-person visits. Targeted or reduced monitoring focuses attention only on areas or sites with high risk, enabling resource savings. For example, for a successfully compliant site, on site checks may be limited to critical trial milestones. Then we see this summarized diagram of unveiling the steps of risk based monitoring, RBM. Risk-based monitoring, RBM, we have the risk identification, we have the risk assessment, and then we have implementing risk controls. Benefits and challenges of monitoring plans and RBM risk-based monitoring benefit, risk, uh, risk-based monitoring. So we'll start with the benefits. Enhance safety. Improve the safety. Safety of whom? Of the patient, of the participant. So enhanced, improved patient or participant safety, keeping participant risks front and center with real-time data review. Greater efficiency. Direct resources only where needed, reducing wasted effort. So direct resources, uh, direct the resources only where needed, where required. We're supposed to be reducing wasted effort. Cost savings. High expenditure for on-site monitoring is mitigated with technology-driven alternatives. Data quality issues are detected earlier, preventing downstream problems. Now the challenges. After the benefits, we have the challenges. Change management. Resistance from teams used to traditional systems can be a barrier. Solution for that is incorporate training yearly. So, meaning if we have team members or teams used to use traditional or older system, then they might resist any uh, changes, any improvement, uh, uh, as they such teams would not adjust easily. So in this case, this will be a barrier. So the solution for that, incorporate training early. Tech limitations. Not all trials or geographic regions have access to advanced systems. Sponsors may need to intervene and support infrastructure development. Here, when we have tech limitations, especially with high scale, larger scale trials that aren't that such kind of trial that is international or global, there might be regions or areas that there are limitations in the technology. Data dependency, RBM risk-based monitoring is as strong as the data it analyzes. So, meaning risk-based monitoring (RBM) will be useful, will be positively impactful if the quality of the data is high. So it's alongside parallel both of them. If data is good, the RBM will be more useful, more good. If the data quality is strong, meaning the RBM risk-based monitoring is strong. So RBM is as strong as the data it analyzes. Poor submission by sites can degrade its efficacy, the efficacy of our RBM risk-based monitoring. Regulatory complexity, varying acceptance of RBM risk-based monitoring globally requires flexibility and upfront communication with regulators. Here, summarized diagram of exploring the dual aspects of monitoring plans and RBM, risk-based monitoring. We have the benefits and we have the challenges. Advancements powering modern monitoring. Let's see the advancements. Predictive analytics. AI, artificial intelligence driven tools that identify risks before, prior of they escalate. Example, early detection of investigator underperformance. Simple example, predictive analytics. Collaborative interfaces, shared dashboards, allow sponsors, monitors, and sites to collaborate on resolving flagged issues. Dynamic risk models, monitoring plans adapt in real time based on evolving risks. Patient-centered monitoring, direct integration of wearable technology and patient-reported outcomes improves oversight. Global harmonization, increased dialogue among global regulators now ensures smoother trial operations using RBM risk-based monitoring. This thorough understanding of monitoring plans and RBM, risk-based monitoring, equips advanced physician medical monitors, equips the medical monitors, and medical monitors might be titled or named and with other some other sponsors or CROs differently depending on the employer by maybe named by clinical scientists to ensure efficiency, safeguard patients, and deliver high quality trial results. So modern monitoring advancement cycle, we have predict risks, facilitate collaboration, adapt plans, integrate patient data, harmonize globally. If we see here in this nice summarized diagram, it's a circle, no end start point, no end point. It's continuous circle. Each point or each aspect continuous one the other. Summary tables. We have here now components of a monitoring plan. Component that details example. Component, we have the purpose and objectives. We have key performance indicators, KPIs or KPIs, key performance indicators. We have the critical data processes, roles and responsibilities, methods, and frequency. Another table about the risk-based monitoring RBM steps. We have the step, we have the description for the step, the example. Steps we have risk identification, risk assessment, risk mitigation, targeted monitoring, and continuous evaluation. Another table summarized the benefits and challenges of RBM risk-based monitoring. We have the aspect, we have the key points, and the example. Aspect, we have efficiency, enhanced data quality, participant safety, patient safety, resistance to change, and technological barriers. We have the advances or advancements in RBM, risk-based monitoring technology, category description and example. We have the predictive analytics, collaborative platforms, dynamic risk assessments, real-time patient data, and global harmonization. Mastery applications in RBM. risk-based monitoring, the area, the practical implementation, and the example. As of for the area critical data monitoring, the practical implementation is to focuses resources on the most vital metrics. Training and support. The practical implementation is rapid response to protocol deviations, cost optimization. The practical implementation was reduces or is reduces is to reduce operational expenses. Time management, the practical implementation is to minimize delays in decision making. Area of remote success, the practical implementation as of achieves monitoring goals despite logistical changes. Here we have the application table as scenario, the key principle that was applied, key actions, timeline, and what to watch out for. As scenarios, we have the high enrollment error rates at new clinical sites. Key principle applied, risk identification. Scenario of protocol deviations in an oncology trial, the key principle applied, monitoring critical data and processes. Investigators missing SAE, serious adverse event reporting deadlines, key principle applied, communication and escalation plans. Scenario of overburdened team resistant to RBM, risk-based monitoring implementation, key principle applied, change management, while the scenario of sites without proper EDC, electronic data capture platform, the key principle applied, technological barriers. Continuing with the scenarios, we have the minor data discrepancies flagged by centralized monitoring tools. Key principle applies centralized monitoring. Scenario of real-time patient safety monitoring in pediatric trials. Key principle applied risk-based participant safety monitoring. While the scenario of remote monitoring for sites during lockdowns, key principle applied remote monitoring. Continuing with the scenario, we have the transition from low risk to high risk status at a site. Key principle applied dynamic risk assessment, while the scenario for cost containment in a multi-country phase 2 trial. Key principle applied cost effectiveness in centralized monitoring. Next, we'll try to revise through some MCQs or multiple choice questions. We'll start with question one. Why is a monitoring plan essential in clinical trials? Is it because A, it eliminates the need for monitoring activities, B, it ensures systematic oversight of trial activities, most likely, C, it primarily focuses on financial budget allocation, D, it provides a guideline for patient recruitment strategies. So it is B, definitely. It ensures the monitoring plan. Why it is essential? Because it ensures systematic oversight of trial activities. As a monitoring plan, so it is B. A monitoring plan serves as a structured framework that outlines procedures, responsibilities, and frequencies for monitoring, ensuring that trial activities are conducted efficiently and comply with regulatory standards. It doesn't eliminate the need for monitoring, but enhances its focus and clarity. Question two, what is the primary goal of risk-based monitoring RBM? Is it A, ensures 100% source data verification, and source data verification is SDV for short for all sites? Or is it B, employing predictive analytics on trial budgets? Or is it C, focusing monitoring activities on high-risk sites, data, and processes, most likely? Or D, conducting regular in-person site visits for all trials? So risk-based monitoring, RBM, if we remember, it helps the monitors to prioritize, or the sponsors to prioritize the in between the sites to determine and to decide uh, which sites are of high risk in high risk or high risk areas, like sites are high risk or the sites falling within high risk areas, and which ones are low risk sites or fall within low risk areas. So by explaining that, it's obviously C, focusing monitoring activities on high risk sites, data, and processes. So RBM risk-based monitoring strategies prioritize critical aspects of a trial, such as high-risk data points and size, to optimize resource use while maintaining participant safety and data integrity. It contrasts with traditional approaches like 100% SDV, which is the source data verification, SDV, which are resource intensive and not always efficient. So SDV is very traditional kind of method of monitoring, which is called source data verification, and sticking with only this method or only applying this method is not always efficient. 3. Which of the following is an example of centralized monitoring in RBM, risk-based monitoring? Is it monthly site visits to evaluate physical changes in trial documents, or B, reviewing aggregated trial data for outliers remotely, or C, hosting face-to-face investigator meetings for protocol training, or D, increasing the number of physical monitors at trial site? So example for centralized monitoring in risk-based monitoring, RBM, is B, of reviewing aggregated trial data for outliers remotely. Reviewing aggregated trial data for outliers remotely. Why? So centralized monitoring involves off-site evaluation of data using advanced tools to identify irregularities such as outliers in reports of serious adverse events, SAEs. This method is efficient and allows for broader oversight, unlike the labor-intensive traditional site visits. For what is one challenge in applying RBM, risk-based monitoring, in resource-limited sites, and what is its proposed solution? Is it A, lack of electronic systems provide tailored sponsor support, or B, disinterest from investigators eliminate the use of RBM, risk-based monitoring, entirely, or C, too many sites to monitor, increase the number of the site visits, or D, excessive training requirement, avoid onboarding new investigators. So one of the challenges of applying the RBM, risk-based monitoring, is the one of the important challenges actually, lack of electronic systems. If we remember the tech limitation or the technology limitation as of especially within high scale, larger scale trials, that kind of trials that are international or global, and you have some areas where there are limitations in technology in tech. So lack of electronic systems uh, provide tailored sponsor support. Um, and um, uh, um, the technology or tech limitations this is as one of its examples, and by doing so, by reflecting so, um, uh, it is one of the challenges. So one challenge is applying RBM, risk-based monitoring, in a remote or developing sites is the absence of necessary infrastructure. So limitations in technology limitations, so which means uh, low equipped infrastructure or limitation in the infrastructure that is needed, such as electronic data capture EDC systems. Sponsors can address this by offering support and resources tailored to the needs of these sites to ensure the successful implementation of RBM, risk-based monitoring methods. Then we have question 5. How does RBM, risk-based monitoring, enhance participant safety, patient safety in clinical trials? Is it A, by conducting blanket 100% SDV, which is source data verification for all participants, or B, by excluding low enrollment sites from monitoring efforts, or C, by prioritizing safety critical endpoints through risk assessments, or D, by reducing contact with site staff to avoid conflicts. So it is very obvious C, the answer for the RBM. How does the RBM, risk-based monitoring, enhance patient safety in clinical trials? Is by prioritizing safety critical endpoints through risk assessments. So RBM, risk-based monitoring, uses risk-based assessments to ensure participant safety by focusing on critical data and processes such as adverse event reporting. This targeted oversight allows for timely mitigation of risks that could affect participant welfare. And by this, we come to the end of this video and to the end of this session. Thank you very much and goodbye.